Hello, party people, and welcome to another episode of the Mug Life Podcast. I'm Brittany, and today's episode is very exciting because I am filming in my brand new, new to me car. So this is my new podcast studio. My little Subaru, if you didn't see my stories from a couple weeks back, she just didn't make it through. I was driving to work, and I'm not kidding. This deer hit the side of my car. Like, I'm driving, and if you're listening and you're not watching YouTube, I'm using my hands to kind of explain. So like, here's my blue Subaru, my coffee mug's my Subaru, here's the deer. I'm just driving along to work, minding my own business. And this deer, I don't know if this deer was like, just ate the wrong kind of mushrooms out in the forest or what, but he went boom and just slammed in the side of my car. And I said a bad word. And little Brian was in the back and he goes, "Mama, don't say that." So I got told what was up by my child, but the Subaru did not make it through and we had to total her and we said goodbye. That car, it was a Legacy, a Subaru Legacy. It was like a 2011. It has been through it with me. My oldest son is 12 years old and I got that car when I found out I was pregnant. So, cause I wanted like a safe, reliable vehicle, right? To tote my babies around in. And she was just ready to go. It was her time. Funny story, the back of the car, this has nothing to do with the episode for today, but the back of the car was disgusting. One, because I have toddlers, and anybody who has a pristine, clean car and has toddlers, tell me your ways. Tell me what you're doing. How do you keep it so clean? Because that's just, it's impossible. Cracker crumbs and applesauce splatters and milk spray, whatever, dirt when they're kicking the seat and stuff. Anyways, I've made it a goal of mine to keep this car cleaner, and I have stayed to that commitment. But my dog Farley, who I have posted on my Instagram a little bit here and there, he's a big Mastiff, and he is huge. He weighs more than I do. He's about as big as like if I laid down, he's about as long as I am, and I guess I'm not very tall. So he was out just like running around in the woods because we live out in the middle of nowhere, and he came back limping and like pouring blood. Like something had cut, like a glass bottle or something had cut his like Achilles tendon, but on a dog. And then but it's like in between the webbing of his toes. And he was just like gushing blood. It was scary. We put towels down in the back of my car and just like threw him in there and like took him ASAP to go get, the doggy emergency room, right? He's fine, by the way. Got stitches. We're all good. He does have like a weird raptor toe now because the tendon went weird. And so it looks like he's got like a raptor foot. It's very funny. But it looked like a crime scene in the back of my Subaru. Like, it looked like I killed somebody and put them in the back of my car. And then I just had covered it with a, what is that called? Like a dog mat. I learned my lesson, right? And so I bought like a back seat cover and I just hadn't taken it off in years. Like, that was probably like a couple years ago. And then when I realized I had to give it to the insurance company, like my car, like just let it go and sign it off to them, I was like, oh my gosh. They're going to take that cover off and see all this like old brown stained blood on my white like cloth seats and be like, what was this girl doing? Like, do we need to like call CSI Miami or whatever? That's like a show. I don't even know. But anyways, so that was hysterical. And I'm just really, long story short, I am so glad to be in this like really nice vehicle. It's all-wheel drive and I love it. And anyways, so we're in a new podcast studio. This is going to be where you see me recording. And let's just jump right into this episode before I go off totally crazy. So I am going to be giving you a must share, must save, must go back to and listen again episode. Grab your pen and paper. If you're driving, don't do that, obviously. But this is going to help you so much. If you are somebody, especially my moms right there, who are just out there, who are just really feeling overwhelmed with how to eat healthy, when it feels like picky toddlers, not having enough time in the day to grocery shop, maybe feeling like you just are overwhelmed with what to cook, or maybe you even like hate cooking, right? Like, I'm going to be real with you. I don't love cooking. I don't. I do it because I'm committed to my health and I'm committed to my children's health, right? I don't love it. But here's the thing. Your body, you get one, right? And so it's important to cook food that's going to fuel and nourish your body so that you can be a badass mom for the remainder of the years that you are given on this planet. Okay. And so if you are somebody who has really struggled to feel like cooking and meal prep and meal planning feels like you can navigate it, and you always feel like you try and you fail, or you're always throwing out a bunch of rotten vegetables or expired meat after your Sunday grocery haul, and you just tend to just give up and go out to eat more often than you want to, or maybe if you're like me, I used to be the queen of this, okay? I'd be like, oh, I'd get so inspired. I'd like scroll through the gram and like find recipes and like these fitness influencer like reels. I know you see a lot of them right now. It's like, what I eat in a day. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands like I'm a robot, but anyways. But and it's like, okay, well, I'll do that. Oh, that looks easy. That looks fun. That looks tasty, right? And then you go to the grocery store on Sunday and you're like, all right, it's Sunday meal prep day, baby. And you get your shopping cart and your toddler's in the front. He's kicking his little legs and you're just like, he keeps dropping his toy and you have to keep picking it up and all the people are waving at you in the grocery store. And you're like, all right, produce aisle. I got you. Carrots. Yeah. Broccoli. Broccoli. Oh, asparagus. That's healthy for you. Going in the cart. Brussels sprouts. I don't even like Brussels sprouts, but I'm going to put those in there because, health stuff. And then you're like, oh yeah, and I need fresh herbs, and you get potatoes and onions and you get all the fruit. And then you're like, all right, lean protein. I'm going to get some ground beef. I'm going to get some steak to cut up and like make that little dinner I like. And so you have all this shit in your cart. Okay. And you go home and you're so proud of yourself, right? Because you skipped the frozen food section. You didn't buy the ice cream sandwiches. You didn't go get that chocolate bar. You didn't get the granola with the chocolate chips in it. You got the boring granola that was just like low fat, high protein. And you got the nasty, tasteless, fat-free yogurt, even though you really wanted the Yoplait, but you did it. You did it, and you got home and you put all the groceries away, which felt super exhausting. And all of a sudden, you open up the fridge on a Wednesday and you're like, oops, okay, well, I forgot that I had that steak that I bought. And you go to smell it and you're like, nope, and you throw it in the trash, right? Or you open up your vegetable drawer and you're like, oh, what is that, mold? What is that fuzzy stuff? Crap, I forgot I bought that asparagus. And so I don't want you to get to Wednesday and feel like you haven't touched any of the foods or tried to cook anything because stuff keeps getting in the way of you being like that, like healthy, nutritious mom machine. Okay. And I just want you to understand that I have been in that position. Maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic, but you know me, I'm a little theatrical, I'm a little fun, right? But I don't want you to be in the position where Wednesday or Thursday comes around and you're throwing out food because you just like couldn't make yourself cook, or you kind of like got food decision fatigue, right? And you're like, well, I had all these meal ideas planned, but I don't know what I want to eat. Or even worse, because this has happened to me before, you try to do that healthy meal that Fitspo girl had on her Instagram, and you're like, got all the ingredients, you chopped all the fresh stuff, you threw it all together, and like you either burn it or you throw it together and it tastes disgusting, or it's all three and you can't get your children to eat it. Your husband's like chewing on it and he's smiling and he's trying to be nice, but it doesn't really taste very good. And you are just like, you want to bawl your eyes out. You're like, I spend so much time on this meal and it was supposed to be so good. It was supposed to have so many grams of protein. It was low carb. I used the cottage cheese instead of the sour cream. Like, why doesn't it taste good? And then we just end up in a pool of sadness and we just want to give up and go get takeout. Now, before I jump into this episode and give you these 5 tips, okay, there's 5 tips with a few bonus tips here and there, but these 5 main tips are going to help you really kind of reframe your thoughts around what it means to meal prep and meal plan, because those are 2 different things, which we will discuss as well, and also what that means for you, okay? You have to understand that there are no rules. I live a life where I don't set rules for myself. I just give myself a commitment, okay? You need to commit to a routine, not set rules about how you're supposed to do it, because guess what? Newsflash, probably not to you if you're a mom, but motherhood's unpredictable, okay? You don't know what's going to happen. Every single day is a new adventure. It's like roll the dice and pray nobody poops their pants, right? And so today, and you're going to share this You will. I know you will, because you're going to get to the end of this episode and be like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown. I feel like I can go to the grocery today or tomorrow and just do a complete reset. And like, I can actually create healthy meals that are going to make me feel good, that I'm actually going to like the taste of. And I'm going to feel like it's possible for me. Like, why was I overthinking it before? It's so simple. And that's what this episode is going to do for you today. You are going to walk away or get out of your car after listening, or, after watching the YouTube video, whatever it may be. And you're going to just be so excited about what mealtime and meal planning and grocery shopping will be able to look like for you now that you have this knowledge. Okay? So 5 steps to avoiding throwing out all of the food that you bought on Sunday and eating healthy. And because we're eating healthy and we're eating at home more and cooking meals we love and enjoy, we're going to probably eat out less, and we're probably going to feel less snacky. So we're probably going to lose weight as well. So if that's on your goal list, then it's a win-win-win. All right. So before I jump into these 5 tips, I want to make sure we have like an understanding of the terms that I'm going to be using. And maybe you're somebody who had these mixed up, or you use them interchangeably and I had no idea they were 2 different things. That was me in the past. So if that's you, I see you. You are not alone, and it is confusing as heck. And there's a lot of information on the internet that can make it feel overwhelming. So I'm going to break this down for you. Okay. Because this is an important piece of, it's like a stepping stone in being able to meal prep and meal plan efficiently and in a way that works for you and your life and your goals, right? And I will continue to make that point that we have to be intentional about our needs, our life, our goals, right? This cannot just be a, anybody cookie cutter can do it this way. It has to be taking these tips that I'm going to give you and then using them in a way that works for you, okay? So also, by the way, you can always message me on Instagram and I will talk you through anything. Questions, just run your list by me, whatever it is. I'm happy to help. Okay, let's talk about the difference real fast between meal planning and meal prep. All right. So meal planning is exactly what it sounds like. So you are planning meals. This looks different for everybody. Okay. Meal planning might be scrolling on Pinterest. I had a client who loved Pinterest boards. Like, it was almost like therapeutic to like go and look at all the different types of recipes and pictures of recipes and almost create like a meal planning vision board of like what she wanted to eat for the week. That's totally fine. That's an example of meal planning. You are thinking about what I need so that I can meal prep, which is meal prep is actually prepping the ingredients, right? It's not just putting food in glass containers and putting them in the fridge for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Meal prep can look different for everybody as well, okay? So meal prep is when you are actually prepping the ingredients. And for some people, that's prepping entire meals and portioning them out, which I have found as a mom is not as doable as prepping ingredients, because we have toddlers with little toddler hands and they like to reach in and they like to take specific things out of meals. Sometimes they don't want the sauce on top, right? Sometimes they want the noodles separate from the meat. Sometimes they want ketchup instead of mustard. Sometimes they want barbecue instead of ranch. Like, when you mush everything together, for some reason, toddlers just look at it and they're like, no, not for me. I just want this. And so as a mom, I've really found with my picky eaters is that and honestly for myself, so I have some freedom with and flexibility with moving things around and making different types of meals. I don't necessarily prep meals. I prep ingredients. Okay. And we'll talk more about that as I go through these 5 steps, but prepping ingredients would be something like, batch cooking rice so that I have rice to eat with different meals that I choose. Batch cooking pulled chicken. So I have pulled chicken to eat with different meals, as opposed to putting the chicken and the rice and the beans and the corn all together in one thing, right? That might be just taking a sheet pan and putting a bunch of vegetables on a tray, like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and carrots, or parsnips, or, whatever you're into, asparagus, whatever it may be, and cooking those vegetables, but like putting the vegetables separate or just putting all the veggies together and then having those. So you have like the vegetables and a protein and a starch, right? That you can combine to make different meals. So that's meal prepping. Okay. And once again, meal prepping will look different for everybody. And for the amount of food that you make will look different for everybody and their family size. Meal planning is planning for meals, like making something as simple, like meal planning can be as simple as creating a grocery list. That's it. You don't have to do it so it's like on Wednesday, I'm going to eat this, this, and this. And on Thursday, I'm going to eat this, this, and this. Because for some reason, and maybe it's just me, I feel like that puts that pressure on you to have to do it a certain way. And then if something comes up, you just kind of be like, throw your hands up and say, screw it, let's go get McDonald's, right? And so I want to kind of give you this information and I want you to take it with a grain of salt, because meal prep and meal planning can look different for everybody. So meal planning might start off for you just creating a simple grocery list and then creating meal ideas that you can then play around with. My number one like secret sneaky tip with meal planning, I will say this, and then we're going to jump into these 5 tips here, which I'm so excited for you to hear, is to actually plan the days that you are going to eat out. Seriously, I encourage you to eat out. Eating out is an experience. My clients that want to lose weight, they still eat out. It's okay. I am not about restriction over here. Like, you can still enjoy foods that aren't made at home, although we want our majority of our diet to be foods that we prepare and eat at home, right? Not only does it save us money, but also it's just, we know what's in it and we can use whole ingredients. And also we are reinforcing those behaviors for our children. But I want to make sure you understand that eating out is totally fine and totally awesome. And I love eating out, okay? And so what I've found and what my clients have found helpful is if they look at like a week, they don't have to plan when they're going to eat, what meals they're prepping, but just to plan when you're going to eat out. Oh, I have dinner with my sister on Friday. Put that in your calendar. You know that you have that to look forward to and that you don't have to worry about a dinner that night, right? Or maybe you're like, okay, my family, we love to get pizza every Thursday night. Like, that's our thing. We get pizza, we watch a movie. I love that for you. That's a great tradition. Yeah, Thursday, you put that in your little, calendar, or you just log it in your brain. If you're somebody that doesn't need to write everything down, I have to write everything down or I forget. And if you can just plan ahead to eat out, you're less likely then to go eat out randomly because you have like decision fatigue about what to cook. Or you're like, well, I don't know, maybe we should eat out tonight. Maybe we should eat out tomorrow. It sounds really good to eat out. Because then if it comes up in your brain, you're like, oh man, you know what sounds really good right now is a cheeseburger with that slaw. I love that spicy slaw at this restaurant with the French fries. Oh, I want to go eat that. Like, that sounds so good. But then you can be like, oh wait, I'm eating out tomorrow. Like, tomorrow we can go to that restaurant. So tonight I'm going to stick to my plan, my commitment to myself, and then we get to eat out tomorrow, right? So that's just like a little bit of a tip there that if you find helpful and if you want to use, great. If not, you do you, boo. Okay. So let's jump in to number 1. So number 1, and it's actually the mistake that I see many people making when they start on this like gung ho, I want to eat healthy meals. I'm going to grocery shop every Sunday. Okay. I'm gonna take a drink. Coffee is life. Okay. The nectar of the gods. So I used to do this too, where I would go grocery shopping and I would get all this stuff, especially with meat. Meat goes bad quickly. Or maybe I'm just like super scared of meat. I am. I'm not going to lie. I'm like a freak about it. I like have to smell the meat and like make sure it doesn't smell anything off. I also, when I cook it, I cook it to like, it's like burnt because I'm paranoid. Brian will tell you he is so annoyed by me because like sometimes I'll cook a meal if it has a protein, like especially chicken. Chicken gives me the ick, but I really enjoy eating it. And I know that it's a nice form of lean protein that I can, nourish my body with. But anyways, so like I will sometimes cook a meal and then like nuke it in the microwave because I am scared that it's not cooked enough. That I'm going to just like get sick and get a foodborne illness or something. I don't know. I'm a freak. Anywho, so the number 1 mistake that I see people do, and tip number 1 is to buy less, okay? And then you can always go back out later, all right? So when you go to the grocery store, I want you to just start out by doing this, okay? Just try it out for me. I want you to think about going grocery shopping for 1 to 2 meals max. Okay. I want you to start off small and I want you to build. A lot of the time we want to go in, we want to buy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to get all these supplies and like make sure we're, here's the cool part. You can eat dinner food at breakfast and you can eat breakfast food at dinner. So let's really get super, super basic and stop going all out and going crazy and really get small first and get really good at committing to that 1 to 2 meal prep and planning. Okay. So I usually tell my clients, let's pick 1 to 2 dinners to have stuff for, and then a breakfast that you're probably going to eat every single day. Okay. And with breakfast, usually, unless you don't like eggs, there are other ideas. It's not just eggs, but typically, we get eggs, bread, some kind of fruit. Okay. But I really want us to focus in on dinners, because with dinners, we can make it in bulk, and then we can also have them for lunches or even for breakfast. Okay. And so my biggest tip, my number one tip, is to stop trying to get it all done in one shopping trip. Okay. I want you to focus on 1 to 2 meals. All right. So let's say we chose dinner. Okay. And when you build a plate, it's important to recognize that we want to have a protein, to have a balanced plate, right? To have a plate that nourishes us, gives us energy, and helps us keep up with our goals, whether that be muscle building, weight loss, whatever. Okay. So we need to have protein. We need to have a plant of some kind. Okay. I'm not even going to tell you how many grams. I'm not going to tell you how much of the plate even. Let's start so basic. Do I have a protein? If you don't know what a protein is, you can always just chat GPT that or Google it. But proteins, you can just get a big list. Like, I don't know why people don't use chat GPT more often or Google more often. Like, just try it. But anyways, some kind of lean protein. All right. I don't care if that's salmon. I don't care if that's ground beef. I don't care if that's chicken. I don't care, if it's full fat Greek yogurt, whatever it may be. Get a protein source. Okay. For a meal. Then you need a plant. A plant. That means it grows from the earth. Okay. It might have leaves, right? A plant. I don't care what plant it is. You just need to make sure you have a plant. Okay. A protein and a plant. Now, as we get into really honing in on what our goals are, those plants we might play around with. Like, do we want more starchy vegetables? Do we want non-starchy vegetables? But right now, for the mom who is like so overwhelmed, let's just keep it really simple. Protein and a plant. So we've got, for example, we got ground beef and broccoli, protein and a plant, or ground beef and carrots, or ground beef and tomatoes. I don't know, but a protein and a plant. Okay. And the last thing, which is going to help you buffer your meal automatically without having to think about it, is 3 colors. Okay. So you have the protein, a plant, and then I want you to look down at your plate and ask yourself, do I have 3 different colors involved in this meal? So if I did ground beef, potatoes, and broccoli, that would not be 3 colors. That's brown, brown, green, right? So that way it kind of naturally encourages us to really increase what we're getting out of the food. Okay. We want more micronutrients, right? So we get the basic macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, but we want to pay attention to the diversity and the variety of micronutrients on our plate. And the best way to do that is to look at color. Okay. It also just makes it simple. So on that plate, we got ground beef, we got broccoli. And so instead of choosing potatoes for my 3rd color, you might do ground beef, broccoli, and white jasmine rice, or ground beef, broccoli, and I'm trying to think of another color, purple cabbage, So that's kind of like your checklist. If you have that when you meal plan, you are going to be on your way to a healthy meal planning, meal prepping queen status. Okay. So take it and drink. Number 1, stop doing too much at once. Focus on one meal. We just planned one meal together. I got ground beef, I've got some broccoli, and then I've got some white jasmine rice. Perfect. Start there. Number 2, this is a big one. There are no rules about when you have to grocery shop. Okay. So everybody's always like, oh, Sunday grocery haul, Sunday reset. And like, I personally do it on Sundays, but I also work a job Monday through Friday. So Sunday is just like a natural reset in my day. Okay. And so if you're somebody that works different hours or it just doesn't make sense for you, grocery shop on Wednesdays, right? There are no rules here. Remember, this is what works for you. Okay. And when I say that also, please don't do everything on Sunday. Kind of like going back to number 1 on Sunday. Let's say you choose Sunday. Okay. Get stuff for 1 to 2 meals. And then after you've kind of eaten your fridge and you've used up what you've bought, go back out on Wednesday. There are no rules. You could grocery shop every single day if you want, right? You have to figure out what works for you. For us as a family, we grocery shop on Sunday, we eat what we got, and then we kind of just like nitpick till as far as we can go, and then we usually go back to the grocery Wednesday or Thursday. We have found that it saves us time and money because we're not throwing things away, and we're more likely to eat what's in the fridge when we don't just go overboard and feel overwhelmed with all these options. When it's just those 1 to 2 dinner options that I can then make in bulk and spread over to lunch and breakfast, etc., then I'm just in a much better position. Okay? All right. That was a kind of a short and sweet one. All right. So remember, number 1, we're going to prep balanced plates and focus on keeping it very simple. Number 2 is to grocery shop in a way that makes sense for you. So we're not throwing out produce. Okay. Number 3, this is a big one. You do not have to prep meals. And I kind of touched on this in the beginning. You can prep ingredients. And if you're a mom, I really highly recommend doing it this way, because then you are not just having these huge meals that end up like mushy, gooey, gross, reheated messes. Okay. I personally like protein bowls where you mix a bunch of items together. If you go to my Instagram, like I post a lot of recipes like that. But if we prep ingredients, then we have the flexibility to kind of mix and match. And then my other suggestion with that is to always have like a plethora of sauces available. I am a sauce gal, okay? And there are different sauces for different occasions. And just using teriyaki sauce or barbecue or buffalo or ranch can completely change a meal. Like if you have the ground beef, broccoli, and rice in a bowl, putting teriyaki on it and maybe like some sesame seeds and a little bit of honey can completely change the profile of the dish. And you know, if you had just then done barbecue, right? Like, and sometimes that's all we need. It's just like a flavor change. If you get somebody that's burnt out on eating the same meals all the time, just changing the sauce, your mind's going to be blown. It's going to be a completely different meal every time. Number 4 is to keep it stupid simple. Okay. Kind of goes back to my first one, but I want you to literally Google sheet pan meals. Sheet, not shit. Sheet pan meals, okay? That is a game changer right there. Crock pot meals, cooking in a rice cooker, things that like require less dishes to wash later. You're welcome. There are so many millions of recipes online. I can give you recipes in the show notes if you want, but like you have to find what you like to eat. And so I'm sorry, girl, finding a meal plan or copying somebody's what they eat in a day, it's not going to work because it's not your taste, it's theirs. So start taking initiative and just Google that shit. I know you're on Amazon searching outfits, like start scrolling through Google, finding recipes, saving recipes, screenshotting the recipes, and then get some ideas that you actually want to try, right? And if we do something like one sheet pan meal, that's exactly what it is. Like, you know, I think I posted it, I don't remember what it was, but it's like chicken thighs, veggies, and then rice is on the side. You cook it all at one time in the oven and it's done. That's it. One pan. Are you kidding me? Sign me up, right? And so we have to try and keep it as simple as possible in the beginning. And we don't have to feel like we have to like zest a lemon and grind the fresh pepper and have the garlic. I don't know what the word is where you like toss it around and smell it. You don't have to be that crazy, you know, that elaborate, okay? And that's why with this tip, I want to encourage you to do something that, you know, some fitness influencers would be like, don't do that. Well, they're not moms, obviously. I want you to have frozen vegetables on hand. You hear me? I don't care if they're fresh or frozen. Vegetables are vegetables and they're a plant and that checks the box, okay? I live on frozen, like the mixed veggies, like the peas, carrots, and corn. I love that. And ground beef and rice mixed together, and then I change up the sauce. That is the easiest meal I make that's high in protein. It's so good. It's just like a little bowl of tasty goodness. Keeps me full, keeps me happy, and my kids like it. And it's easy. Frozen vegetables, put them in your damn freezer. Always keep them stocked, okay? Frozen shrimp, easy to thaw, high in protein, healthy. They got omegas. It's good for the, you know, my kids love shrimp. They like bite the heads off. I don't know. And if you don't like shrimp, don't buy shrimp. But frozen shrimp, easy to thaw, quick meal, add it with noodles, add it over pasta, you know, cook it on rice. Like there's so many different ways to cook frozen shrimp. Okay. Applesauce squeeze pouches, applesauce containers, always keeping bananas and apples, things that potatoes, keep foods around that don't go bad as quick. That's important. Potatoes and onions, like they just stay good forever. Sweet potatoes stay good forever. Squash stays good forever. Buy stuff that you know is going to last in your pantry. try to avoid buying multiple ingredient foods. Like think about like whole foods and then like canned items, like canned corn, canned beans, packages of tuna, cans of tuna. Like what can you buy as plan B when shit hits the fan and your dinner plans go out the window because the power's out? Like what do you have on hand that you can always have in case you forget to go to the grocery, something comes up, etc. My last tip is for the mom who is a picky eater, okay? Because I have gone through it with little Brian. I'm going to tell you right now, it has been rough. We have gone through stages where he wants to eat everything in the house and the stages where all he wants is chicken nuggets and french fries. And it's been hard. And as a mom, I just want you to know, like, I see you and I get it. And I know how hard it is to like pick that battle with your toddler, especially when you're freaking tired and you're hungry because you haven't eaten because you're trying to feed him first. Like, I get it. But I really want to encourage you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I want to encourage you to introduce as many whole foods, fresh fruit, vegetables, proteins that you can to your child without being forceful. So one tip that I found really helpful is to offer the food that we're eating. So whatever I'm cooking for dinner, I put in little separate piles on his tray and I explain to him, like, this is what we're eating for dinner. Mommy's going to mix it all up together, but I have the stuff here separate for you to kind of explore on your own. And then I'm going to put some sauce on the side here if you want to get crazy, you want to dip it in, right? I like to use the word, why don't you just explore the food? Because then it's like, there's no pressure. It's not like, eat this or you're not going to get your ice cream after we eat dinner. It's like, that makes me not want to eat that, Mom, right? And so I really encourage you, as frustrating as it can be, to have them sit with you at the dinner table with everybody else eating and explain, be very, not like stern, but be strong and say, like, you know what, honey, this is what we're having for dinner. Mommy and daddy are eating it. Your brother's eating it. And it's dinner time and we're all sitting down to eat. If you're hungry, this is the food that I have to offer you. Why don't you just explore it? Those parsnips kind of look like French fries. I bet if you dip those in ketchup, it might be similar to taste. You tell me, does it taste like a French fry? Right? And just encouraging him. And then if he says no, say, that's fine, but this is what I have to offer you. So you can sit there with us at the table or you can get down. And then when you're ready, I'll put you back in your chair and you can explore the food. What would you like to do? Right? And so really modeling to them the behaviors that you want them to have, but giving them choices. Kids love choices. As a teacher, like I have perfected getting what I want from my students without having to even raise my voice, without having to give discipline or, a consequence. I just give them choices, but choices that I can live with, right? You can do this or you can do this, right? But both choices are kind of a win for me, but they don't know that. They just think that they're winning because they get to choose what they want, right? And so obviously every kiddo is different and you have to find what works for you, but that's another conversation I'd love to have in my DMs if you want to message me. I've got lots of tips with that. Maybe I'll do a podcast episode about picky toddlers. Let me know if that sounds like something you want to listen to. But that's kind of my little take on that. And yeah, so and the other thing I forgot to mention about that, having tortillas on hand, kids love quesadillas. Like, taking the meat from your dinner. There's nothing wrong with taking the meat that you prepped and putting it in a quesadilla with cheese and folding it over and giving it to them like a taco. Like, there's nothing wrong with kind of modifying your dinner so that they eat it, right? So you can change the ingredients and the way that the food looks for your child. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that. Some people won't agree with that, but if it's the food I made and it's available, I don't have a problem with it, right? And so you really just have to find what works for you and just trial and error, baby. Trial and error. And you're going to lose your patience some days and you're going to want to freak out sometimes. You're just going to want to go get takeout, but stay strong, stay strong, stay strong. Okay. So let's wrap this puppy up because we're getting a little long here. I hope that this was helpful. Those 5 steps are going to at least get you started so you don't feel completely overwhelmed with meal prep, meal planning, going to the grocery, eating healthy, all of the things. I want you to really just take a breath and realize that starting to do something slower is better than just trying to win the race, okay? Start really small. If you are somebody that hates cooking or meal planning or meal prep or it feels overwhelming, just pick one meal. Pick one meal and follow those tips that I gave you and see if you can commit to grocery shopping. Pick a day, right? And commit to getting things just for that meal, okay? Get whatever else you need, but just for that meal, just know, like, I'm going to get this stuff and then just cook it. Just do it. Just cook it. And see what happens, right? And my bonus tip, by the way, is whenever you are cooking dinner, oh, my light just went out. Hang on one second. So my light went out and then I recorded the end of this episode and then I went back to edit it later and there was no sound. So I am now recording the end of this episode on a completely different day, but that's okay. We're going to finish strong. So if you're watching on YouTube, I am wearing a different outfit because this is a different day. But what I wanted to get across to you at the end of this was that we really are overcomplicating meal prep and meal planning. And we really want to kind of like break free from what it's supposed to look like to meal prep and to meal plan, especially when we think about where we are in the phase of life we're in as a mom, right? And if we can kind of lower our expectations a little bit and kind of lower the bar of entry, it's going to make it feel less overwhelming. And we're probably going to be more likely to continue to do it, right? And I really do encourage you, and I say this, I've said this the entire show today, but I really want to encourage you to make sure that you are taking these 5 tips that I gave you and you are implementing them in ways that make sense for you. And my biggest takeaway before I let you guys go is to tell you that no matter what, if we can just really focus on having a protein and a plant and 3 colors on every plate 3 times a day, just focusing on that alone and being consistent with that and planning days that you want to eat out, that is going to have a huge impact on your health. It will automatically give you the nutrients, the macronutrients and micronutrients that you need in your diet to sustain a healthy and happy life if you are really focused in on just keeping it simple with a protein, some plants, and some color on every plate. That's it. And it also just feels like, oh, yeah, I can totally do that, Brittany. Like, no problem, right? And it's a lot easier than being like, all right, you need exactly 120 grams of protein. Take your weight, multiply it by this number, and then take this and divide that. And then make sure you split up your carbohydrates between starchy and non-starchy, and make sure you don't eat this many before. It just becomes too much, okay? And that's not to say that I'm like not like anti-tracking macros. I want to make sure I get that across to you. If you find tracking macronutrients and knowing how many macros are on every single plate helpful, then go do that. The whole point of me being a coach is to be there and to support you and to help you navigate your health and your nutrition and your weight loss or your muscle gain, whatever your goals are, in a way that works for you. But I have found that tracking macros and being obsessed with the number part of the meal, we lose sight of why we're building plates the way we're building them, and then what we actually think about the way they taste, the way they look, the experience that I have with the food, right? Like, you don't think about meal prep as an opportunity to cook with your family or with your kids or to create memories or experiences with your family. Instead, it's like, I got to check this box so I get in this amount of protein, right? It's not, hey, getting with your kid or your husband and making a plan about what you want to eat. And like, everybody gets to pick, an entree on the menu, right? Like, we get together and we get to decide about the grocery list. It becomes a family thing. It becomes an experience, right? Everybody gets to pick one random ingredient and then we have to make something out of it, right? Have you ever watched that show Chopped before? Then you know what I'm talking about. We actually, in my own family, we have done that. We have done, when my oldest son was very little, he was like 5. We were obsessed with watching Chopped. And we filmed it. I should find that somewhere, but Brian and I created a meal out of like certain ingredients that he picked out, and then he taste tested it. But the point of me saying this is, I really want you to like take a breath and like drop the shoulders and not freak out about what you have to eat to lose weight or what you have to eat to put on muscle or what you have to eat to be healthy, and just start adding things into your life. And that starts with that tip number 1 I gave you, where we're just going to simplify it and just focus on one meal, right? Just focus on one meal. I hope this was helpful, and I could just start talking for days now. That this is a different day because I just feel energized and ready to talk to you more about eating and meal prep and what it means to be healthy. But that is for another episode. I just want to thank you so much for listening, and it means the world to me if you rate my podcast on Spotify, or if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, all those things, and send this to somebody. Send this to a mom friend who you love, And make sure you come back to this later. Maybe today is like a random Wednesday when you're listening and you need this like little dose of motivation on a Sunday. Listen to this while you meal prep. Listen to this while you meal plan. Listen to this, share this with your partner. I don't know. Find somebody to share this with, because the more that this podcast is shared, the more people that I can help, the more moms that I can help. And ultimately, that is my goal. That is my end goal with this podcast, is to help as many people as possible make health and their goals and fitness and nutrition, all of that accessible in a way that makes sense for them. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.